Alright guys, so with continuing this week with covering some pretty pricey products, today we're going to check out the brand new Moondrop Meteor. Now this is a $499 pair of IEMs, which again is showing kind of what Moondrop does. In the same time frame, within at least a couple of weeks, they released the Moondrop Meteor, which again is $499, but they also release an over-the-ear wireless noise canceling pair of headphones that only come in at $79 with the Moondrop Edge. So that's, showing that there is a huge price gap between one product and the next. But that's kind of what Moondrop does. So with the Moondrop Meteor, $499 I know is going to scare quite a bit of people off. But we're going to talk about what makes this pair stand out. I do want to say that this is a very large pair of IEMs, at least when it comes to how tall they are. So when they're in your ear, it kind of reminds me a lot of like Frankenstein's bolts that stick out of his neck. The IEMs are sticking out of your ears at about the same distance. These are very large IEMs, but they're large for a reason. So it's using a very large 13mm dynamic driver, so that can handle the low end. It's using two balanced armature drivers to be able to handle your mids, and then it's also using 4 planar drivers to handle the treble. Now it's also using a 3-way crossover system so that it's trying to keep everything from just rolling over each other. So it's separating the lows, the mids, and the highs in itself, or at least as much as it can. All of these drivers are the reason the earbuds are the size that they are. Now I do like the fact that they tried to go with this approach of making it look like a unibody design. You can see where 2 pieces connect, but you have to really look for it. Otherwise, it just looks like this really clean, smooth looking IEM. It's dark. The outside is actually a piece from a Meteor, so it actually ties into the name of the IEMs. And Moondrop even says that each piece is going to look slightly different because with the finish of a Meteor or pieces of a Meteor, no 2 pieces are going to look exactly the same. And I think that's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool to know you're going to have something a little unique. But again, it's a very dark look. It's not something that's trying to draw attention, at least when it comes to the color. And the same thing goes with the cable. Now the cable that they've included in here is a nice copper cable. It is silver plated, and it is using the 2-pin connection, and that's pretty common. I think a lot of people already have 2-pin connection cables lying around. Now out of the box, it came with a 4.4mm balanced plug-in, but it also comes with a 3.5mm plug-in adapter. You simply just twist or unscrew and then just pop out one connection and then switch it over to the other. It's just slightly different than the way that IEMs or headphones have done it in the past. It's easy to just pop these on and off, and then once you screw it in, it just kind of helps keep these a little bit more secure. Now, as far as what else they've included in the box, it does come with a really nice leather looking case. Now this kind of looks like a lot of other Moondrop cases for their IEMs, so nothing special here, but the leather look does make it feel a little bit more premium. And then it also comes with 2 different styles of silicone ear tips. You have one that's a little bit thinner than the other. The other one has more of a firm feel to it. And both of these take different approaches when it comes to the sound. The one that's a little bit flimsier gives you a little bit more low end, where the more firm ear tip kind of tightens up the bass a little bit more. I like a more loose feel, so I like the flimsier ear tips, but I do like that you get both of these options, and you're also getting 3 different sets in each style. So you're getting 6 sets of ear tips total, and then outside of that, there's pretty much nothing else in the box. But I will say Moondrop again did a really good job with their presentation when it comes to the packaging. This is something they're really well known for. Now, as far as actually using these IEMs. Now, if you look at the price tag, you probably think right off the bat, I'm also going to need a really, expensive or nice amp to be able to push these. But this pair comes in with an impedance level of only 18.5 ohms and a sensitivity level of 120 decibels. So it's actually very easy to drive when it comes to getting volume out of them. You can plug straight into a phone or a laptop or a tablet, and I think you get a really loud sounding pair of IEMs just as it is, but I'm still gonna say that I recommend using an amp or a DAC just to really get the lows and the mids and the highs brought out a little bit more. Throughout my testing, most of the time I just used the Moondrop Dawn Pro. This is a very small DAC that has a USB-C or USB-A connection as well. It's really easy to just plug into a phone, and that definitely brought out the bass, the mids, and the treble to a point that I didn't feel it was necessary to have a high dollar amp to really get a pretty good experience with the IEMs overall. And with saying that, let's just go ahead and go right into the sound. The Moondrop Meteor, in my opinion, really kind of took the approach of sounding natural. And you would think a lot of the times going into this price range, you're probably thinking it's going to have more of a neutral or reference style sound. And that's not the case with these. Now, it's not over the top when it comes to the mids and the treble. I don't think that there's a huge spike here. But I am gonna say with the low end, this actually surprised me quite a bit. The low end is pretty aggressive on this pair. It can sound pretty boomy at times, but because it's separated from the mids and the treble, it doesn't affect any of that. It allows these to be a pretty dynamic sounding IEM and not feel like you have to sacrifice one thing because the bass is doing a lot. I was very impressed, and I'm a bass head, so to say that, just the way that it was without having to go in and EQ or try to bring out the low end, just straight out of the box, the bass is very, very impressive. Now, when it comes to the mids and the treble, the mids you can tell have a slight boost, but it's not like way in your face. You could just tell that they're trying to make sure that male and female vocalists and certain acoustic instruments just kind of stand slightly up front. And kind of the same thing with the treble. The treble has this nice sparkle to it, but it never felt like it was too harsh. It never felt like they were trying to boost the treble so much to a point that it would cause ear fatigue. Again, I think the bass is what's causing the mids and the treble to feel a little bit more tame, and I think that's what adds to that natural feel to it. When I say natural, I feel like this sounds more of like what you would hear a band or an artist sound like live. It's very impressive the way that they tune these, and I think because they used all of these different drivers, it allowed them to be able to take advantage of controlling the lows, the mids, and the highs the way that they did. Now, when it comes to the soundstage and the sound imaging, this isn't the most open sounding IEM that I've tested, but it still made me feel like I was in a pretty large room. But what really stood out was being able to hear where different instruments were coming from and how far they were away from you, and you can even hear like things being layered better than you do in most IEMs. And again, I think that's what goes back to these feeling like a live sounding IEM. I was just overall very impressed. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that these are so large. Now, it wasn't where the weight felt like it was all on the back end, where it felt like it was kind of pulling down or could get loose or anything like that. It's just the fact that you have these large things sticking out of your ears. But if it gives me a larger driver, or if in this case, when it's giving me much more drivers, I'll take that trade-off any day. I don't care what I look like, especially if I can get sound quality that is going to separate itself from something that may just look prettier or just have a nicer look to it overall. So I think the trade-off here is, yeah, you're not going to get something that looks amazing, and it is going to draw attention because it sticks out of your ears, but you are getting a very impressive sounding IEM, and I think overall the $500 price tag is definitely justified. But guys, that's my video on the Moondrop Meteor IEMs. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.